Wii Sports is back. Well, kind of. It's now got a slightly different name, but Nintendo Switch Sports is intent on reviving a gaming icon, bringing back all of the waggle controls and sports like bowling and tennis, which made the Nintendo Wii a sold-out sensation through 2007 and 2008. The first thing that you'll notice when loading up Nintendo Switch Sports is just how good the game now looks. Wii Sports was, even for the time, a little bit rudimentary, thanks to the relatively low power of the Nintendo Wii hardware and the minimalist Mii avatars that you could create and play as. It means that the 15-year gap is really telling in how the environment and the sporting arenas now look in this new game, as well as the new character designs that you can create and customize. You can still use a Mii if you like, and I'm sure that many people would rather stick to an avatar that they've imported or recreated from one console to the next, but the new Sportsmates, as they're called, are really nicely stylized, with big eyes, futuristic looking sportswear, a great array of hairstyles to choose from, and some really nice and effective animations for the various sporting moves that they have to make. A huge part of Wii Sports' popularity was in just how utterly accessible it was. Thanks to the wholehearted embrace of motion controls, you could take the actions that you know of swinging a tennis racket, slicing with a sword, bowling a ball, and then just have all of that translated straight into the game. It was so intuitive that grandparents who had never picked up a game controller could get to grips with this. Nintendo Switch Sports pulls a similar feat with many of its games, as tennis, bowling and Chambara return from Wii Sports and the Wii Sports Resort sequel, while also introducing Footbal, Volleyball and Badminton for the first time. Golf will also be coming back as a free update later this year. So let's dive into these 6 games. Perhaps the most iconic of the returning originals is bowling, the simplicity of just flinging a ball down a lane into a neat formation of pins, hoping to get a strike and keep your score multiplying. Pick your initial position and angle before holding the shoulder button as you go through the full motion of bowling, and you can also apply some wicked spin with a twist of your wrist to curl the ball. It is as compelling as ever, and playing with the spin is excellently intuitive and powerful. Maybe a bit too powerful from what I was able to get the ball to do though. We only got to try out the standard bowling mode in a head-to-head battle, but there's more inventive options to be found in the full game. One mode will add obstacles and changes to the layout of the lane to add a bit of a puzzle-like challenge maybe, and if you head online there's a knockout tournament twist to the proceedings as 16 players face off for the win. Tennis is also pretty much exactly as you will remember it, your avatar running around automatically toward where the ball is heading, the timing of your swing then determining the direction where it's going to be heading back and forth and back and forth. You know, it's tennis. Doubles play is also part of the game, whether you have 4 actual people playing or just 2 of you, and in the case that you're on opposite sides of the net, then it means that you will be controlling 2 identical avatars and your swings control both of them. Badminton is then an ideal counterpart to this, with a slower and a bit more tactical style of play as the shuttlecock arcs back and forth over the higher placed net. Again, you're not in charge of your character's placement, but you've got both underhand and overhead shots at your disposal, the latter lending itself very nicely to the timing-based power shots, and then there's a cheeky little drop shot move that you can use to draw your opponent around the court. It's quite heartbreaking to see your avatar dive to return the shuttlecock, only to then be too slow to get up to catch the easy finishing move that you've left your opponent. I reckon that I might actually enjoy badminton a bit more than tennis. Chambara sword fighting is another pleasantly intuitive inclusion. The key thing to learn is how to attack with the swing of the Joy-Con and how to block attacks by holding it at a perpendicular angle. Get your attacks right and it bashes your opponent back towards the edge of the raised area, and in a nice game show twist, defeat sees your avatar getting thrown from this arena into the pool of water below. It can be really quite slow-paced and tactical if you want it to be, fights swinging back and forth, the advantage going one way and the other, but it can be just as easily ended in a rapid 3-hit knockout. Further options include having a charge sword instead of the regular one, or to use twin swords that require a pair of Joy-Con. Stepping into the volleyball court then, we start to get to the more abstract and less familiar feeling sports for many people. You only need to play with a single Joy-Con, but volleyball is really a sport where you need two-handed motions to serve, dig and pass, set, spike, block at the net and everything else. As with badminton and tennis, your avatars run around automatically, and you have two players on each side. We were playing in co-op on this occasion. So it's really all about the timing and learning of the different motions needed to play. Compared to tennis and badminton, you'll have a handful more motions to learn, but for fans of the anime Haikyuu, this will be essential to play. And so finally, we come to football, or soccer if you're in the US. This is easily the most abstract as it blends together motion controls with a game style that is much more like Rocket League than real football. 2 teams of 4 face off in a football arena, and so this actually supports 8 players online, I believe. The ball is also huge, and you're running around with the analog stick and a stamina-based sprint. The Switch Sports twist is that you flick the controller to kick, and you have a simply hilarious two-fisted punching motion to go for a diving header. It's a lot of fun though, and I reckon it's probably a touch more accessible than Rocket League is. It's joined by a separate minigame, a shootout mode, getting you to use a leg strap accessory that was first introduced with the Ring Fit Adventure game. In multiplayer, shootout mode has you taking turns. The ball is knocked into the box for you, and you then have to time your physical kick to knock it into an open goal. After each successful score, the goal shrinks before the final ball then awards double points, which did lead in our instance to the game being stolen from me at the last moment. It's sure to be a neat little diversion, though probably not much more than that, given the added fuss of strapping a controller to your leg. And if you want to play multiplayer, you can either pass the leg strap around, or have 2 leg straps, or maybe whip out a roll of duct tape. From what I've seen of Nintendo Switch Sports, it's maybe not really doing all that much that's new, but it is handily reviving that spirit of Wii Sports for a new generation of motion controls and console players. With some Wii Sports classics returning and the few new options that you have, there's a nice mixture of obvious and accessible games, and games with a little bit more depth and nuance to them. We are just a couple of weeks away from the full launch at the end of April. This is the 29th of April. And I cannot wait to dive into the new knockout bowling mode and living out my Haikyuu-inspired gaming dreams in volleyball. That's all that we've got time for in this particular video. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen on Nintendo Switch Sports, and again, it's out in just a few weeks on the 29th of April. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, do all of the usual YouTube things before you go, and hopefully we will see you again soon. Goodbye.